Hey everybody, so I've been getting a lot of questions about my book lately, so I thought what I'd do is put together this short video to kind of give you an overview and give you details about what's the deal with Torahism. So the genesis of this book was really some conversations that I had with some old friends of mine who had left Christianity to follow the Torah, and they were claiming things like Christianity was corrupted in the first centuries of its faith, that the things that we hear on Sunday mornings in church are lies, that Jesus, while he was the Messiah, was merely a man, so if we worship Jesus, we're committing idolatry, and maybe worst of all was the fact that salvation is found in following the Torah. What I discovered as I was looking into it is that this kind of thinking is actually on the rise in the Christian church today. A lot of you may have heard of it as the Hebrew Roots movement. That's probably the most popular name, but it's also known as the Black Hebrew Israelites movement, or the Seed of Abraham, or Church of God. So I ended up writing this book in response to that as a way to help believers separate fact from heresy when it comes to looking at the Hebrew roots of the Christian faith. So the term Torahism is something that I coined as I was looking into these different belief systems. There didn't seem to be a name that unified them all. It's very nebulous and hard to pin down exactly what they believe. But typically for the Torahists, there's three things that I've found that are true that kind of distinguish them from other belief systems. So one would be the fact that they do accept the New Testament as true, and they accept Jesus as the Messiah, Yeshua as they call him, which is his Hebrew name. But at the same time, they also believe that we should be, as Christians, as followers of Yeshua, we should be keeping the Torah, which means observing all of the Old Testament laws and commands. And then the third thing that I've noticed is that every single person I've talked to that fits into this group was once a Christian and has walked away from the faith. So what makes it difficult when you're talking to a Torahist is that they aren't 100% wrong. They get some things right. So when you sit down and talk about it, they're looking at the same Bible and discussing the same scriptures, but somehow you seem to be talking past each other. It becomes very confusing. And that's why the book starts out, the first section I have is called Setting the Table, and it really deals with just two things. What is the Torah? And what is Torahism? Because with something like this, with a belief system like this, it's really important that we get our terms and our definitions clear up front. So that's how I started the book. So the bulk of this book is spent actually examining specific claims of Torahism, and I've actually broken it down into 4 different sections or categories of claims that Torahists will make. So for example, the first section, claims about the Torah. Now, every chapter here deals with a different claim. So the chapters in that section are, the Torah is eternal, the Torah is for all nations, the law was abolished, and Yeshua kept the Torah. So there are a lot of biblical and scholarly citations throughout the book to support my case, but I intentionally wrote it for the layperson, so it's not at all a difficult read. It's really intended as a resource for people who have family or friends that are starting to say or maybe even believe some of these things. And pastors find it helpful too when they start hearing these questions kind of creep up in their church. They'll have a resource that they can go to help answer those questions. So the second section is the claims about the commandments, and those chapters are the moral and ceremonial law, keep the feasts, which is really cool because I really dive into the Old Testament feasts and how they point forward to Christ. And then there's keep the Sabbath, which is a big one, avoid unclean food, and then the temple. So there we're dealing with priests and sacrifices and worship. And it's really interesting, the more you dig into the Old Testament or the Tanakh on those particular issues, the more you see how it actually points forward to Jesus. The third section is historical claims. As I mentioned, Christianity was corrupted. That's a big claim they'll make. Why has no one realized this till now? That's an interesting chapter, because if you think about it, if modern day Torahists are starting to say, hey, the Christianity was corrupt and we should be following the Torah, the question is, why now? Why has no one realized this in all the centuries since then? Why is it just coming up now? So that's an interesting one. And then this is one you'll hear all the time. This is maybe the first thing that helps draw people out of Christianity and into Torahism, is this claim that Christmas and Easter are pagan holidays. So I deal with that in chapter 15 here. And then finally, the last section is claims about God and salvation. And there we've got Yeshua was not divine, there is no Trinity, and salvation comes from the Torah. So if you've got people in your life that are bringing up these kinds of issues or these kinds of questions, this might be a good resource for you. Let's see, it is 179 pages long. It's published by Williamson College Press. The best place to find it is on Amazon.com. And I also have a website, Torahismbook.com, where you can find out more information, or at my personal website, rlsolberg.com. I'll put all those links below in the description. If you've already read this book, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And if you have time, I would love it if you could go to Amazon and give me an honest review of the book. That would be great. The more reviews you get, the more it helps to spread the word. And I feel like this is a resource that the church could really use. So thank you for watching.